everybody. Welcome to Build, Burn, Become. I'm Fred Mohr, and this is episode 1. And if you're interested in self-improvement, self-empowerment, mindset, health and wellness, fitness, nutrition, entrepreneurship, business, as well as relationships, like, with other people, this is the podcast for you. You could stick around, check it out, and we welcome you to the podcast. And I just want to introduce the man across from me is Greg. He is somebody that I work with, a friend of mine, and he caught wind that we were going to be having this podcast as an introductory to the show and said, hey, how about I stop by and just chill out with you? So it's great to have you here because doing a monologue is pretty tough. I must admit that I would like to be able to do one, and I know I'm going to wind up doing one, but starting off with the first podcast, it's always good to have somebody to rap with. So, thanks for coming.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and also be kind of awkward if you're just talking to yourself for
yeah, that's
a half
right.
hour straight. So,
I mean, people do it, right? They talk to themselves all the time, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
Not in front of a bunch of people, right? So it's a little awkward. But, so reason why it's great to have you here is because, the whole concept of the podcast, Build, Burn, Become, and everything that we want to discuss. I noticed, at the firehouse, that's the same stuff we always talk about.
Of course.
You're a surfer, you're a mountain biker, you weight train, you do a lot of physical stuff. You just ran how many miles?
I think it was like 16, almost 17 miles the
Right.
other day on 9/11.
Yeah, so you ran 17 miles. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about. Anybody interested in this podcast, this is what they want to hear about, what other people are doing. Because, I'm not saying you're not a special person, but we're like regular people, right? And we could do pretty cool stuff when we put our minds to it.
Just average Joes out there hitting the pavement, hitting them weights, just
Right.
trying to live our best lives.
Yeah, right. So, when people tune in, they could hear what we're talking about and be inspired. And I think that's really the key here. How I wanted to do a show that I can inspire people and, to improve in the best positive way. So, I know a little bit about the history of the podcast. Basically, this is our reboot. It's part 2 of a situation that occurred. So anybody that is new to the podcast and hasn't really had time to check out any of the old episodes, the old episodes are actually Beachbox Radio, not Build, Burn, Become. And that's we started that in spring of 2018. And we started it with the same concept, but we called it Beachbox Radio because we do the podcast here in the studio, Beachbox Gym / Beachbox Studios.
In the house.
Right. We're in the place where the magic happens.
Oh, it happens here.
If we turn the cameras around, everybody can see the weights, the TRX bands, the lights, the kickboxing, the smart technology. So it's pretty cool doing this podcast right in here. So we were like, all right, Beachbox Radio, but honestly, I kind of felt like I was doing a Beachbox commercial. Hey, Beachbox Radio, we're Beachbox. Well, now I got to explain what Beachbox is. And nothing against it because, I'm part of the system. But
Well, of course, you got to promote yourself,
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right, exactly. But I don't want to have the podcast stuck in that groove. So Build, Burn, Become, build your strength, but build a better you, build your best self, burn calories, burn like a phoenix flying high up into the sky.
You got to burn the candle at both ends too.
Yeah.
We only have one life,
right?
So you gotta take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's exactly. See, that's why I'm glad you're sitting here with me because that's the kind of attitude I like.
Well, you have to, man.
Just use up your body, man. I don't want to leave anything left when I go. I don't want what are those, the Valkyries from Valhalla?
Oh my God,
right?
yeah.
I don't want the Valkyries coming and taking my body away and saying, hey, this guy, he had like another, 100 miles left in him and he didn't use it. What a waste,
Exactly.
I want them to pick up my beat up, shriveled body from climbing and hiking and banging around and lifting weights. And I want them to say, damn, this motherfucker is used up, just like completely destroyed. That's how I envision it.
If you're not burnt out at the end of the day, then you didn't do it right.
Right.
And the other thing is, too, you exercise, you do all this stuff, you're burning all these calories. Guess what? You get to eat, and that is the best thing in the world.
That's right.
I mean, there's nothing better than having a good meal. So
you
burn the calories, you put good stuff in, and you eat good. That's all good.
Yeah, and I could see a lot of discussion about food. I like to actually. I think I asked you this at the firehouse a bunch of times. This is great. This is like almost like we're at the firehouse. But how many times have I asked you about like how you eat and stuff? And I always I'm like it's like a weird habit or whatever. But I kind of like size people up a little bit. Like, tell me about your diet.
Well, and this is what Fred does. And if you guys don't know, Fred and I both work for the fire department. I'm freshly on. I think I'm 9 months on right now, and I'm on Fred's crew. But yeah, he tends to ask everyone what they eat. And
right.
There's a little bit of judgment going on, because he can kind of tell what kind of person you are just by what you eat,
In a way, yeah. I try not to be judgmental, though. I really don't. I don't hold it against people, and I understand people are different wavelengths, and I'm no better than anybody else because you see what happens, right?
Of course.
You see what happens at the firehouse. Sometimes I fall victim to the trap that's left.
Of course. It's very much an old boys club too at the firehouse. So
yes.
If you're not putting out the shots, then you're getting destroyed by everyone else.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like you're getting just hammered.
Right. Nonstop.
Yeah. And it's kind of tough. Like, I got 15 years on, and I've always been pretty diet conscious. And I've had to take a lot of ribbing before,
I'm
but
sure.
At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I'm eating tofu, whatever you want to say. Yeah, you're right. But, I just got to eat how I got to eat. I like to eat big heaping mounds of good, healthy, high-protein meals. I know you follow the same type of system. And we've even had discussions about, like, vegan food and things like that. I'm all open to. I'll eat anything pretty much, except for like like a tongue or a brain. I don't think I'll do that.
Yeah, that crosses the line a little bit. I mean, I kind of falter at the firehouse a little bit. I have to kind of eat what's going on, and yes, we cook with lard pretty much with every meal. So
right.
That's like I call that my cheat day. That's the ultimate cheat day right there at the firehouse.
Yeah, it tastes really good. I mean, these guys cook incredible meals, and for the price, like what at the end, everybody antes up $10 a man, $15 a man, and you literally had 2 or 3 plates. I mean, big plates of food. There's still some left over.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like a homemade dessert, and some of these desserts are ridiculous. Some of them are evil. Other ones not so bad.
Not so bad. Yeah.
I mean, so well put together. It's like you're eating at a restaurant. In fact, better.
Yeah, in most cases better. Yeah,
right. Because at least you're getting the portions, and you're getting almost like a better quality. Like,
and I spend $10 on a ridiculous meal.
Right. Yeah, and some of the guys even take home leftovers.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's crazy, but yeah, nutrition is definitely a big part of the fitness lifestyle.
Absolutely, and I feel like we hammered in like, burning the calories and then replacing the calories, because eating, especially in my life, is a huge deal. I mean, I live to have a good meal.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Like that's not why I work out, but I mean, gosh.
It's one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a drug,
Yeah, definitely.
It's the best.
Yeah, like every time, I square up to some pizza or something, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I know the pizza's coming, because it's like, hey, we're going to do a pizza night. So I do all kinds of special things to prepare the way in, and it's everything from maybe I don't eat all morning, I fast, extra workout, whatever. I just burn more calories throughout the day, take in less, and then when I eat the pizza, and it's going to be a blowout, right? it's going to be like 6 slices, all right, fine. I kind of make up for it somewhere, but it's a little trick. It's a nutrition trick. Like if you're going to have a shitty cheat meal, birthday party, a repast, something like that, where you know you're going to eat macaroni and all this like heavy,
delicious foods.
Foods. Well, if you know it, well, how can you prepare for it? Are you going to keep eating like you normally do? No, just reel it back in. Maybe spend extra 30 minutes doing cardio, and then you can negate what you just ate.
And of course, and if you don't do that, let's say you start off your day, you're like, oh, I'm going to have this cheat day, and you do that, man. I know I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat the whole day. And holy jeez, my body feels like I've been in the ring with Mike Tyson for 5 rings. I feel like I'm just completely beat down. I wake up the next day, I'm still sluggish. I'm like, give me French toast.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat anything good that next day.
Right.
I'm going to try to. No, I am. I'm going to reel it back. I'm going to try to. But it's like I'm hungover.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
You're right. You become more sensitive to it when you follow a healthy diet. I think a lot of people, when they have a poor diet, they just get into that nasty feeling, but they get used to it. It becomes their new normal, Yeah. So it's kind of like, but if they did cleanse and then follow a diet protocol for like 3 months, they would see the difference.
Yeah. Of course.
So, I mean, it's a challenge though. Like we were discussing the firehouse, it's definitely a challenge. That job is unique. And, when you're in a 24-hour shift and you haven't slept for 17 hours and you're tired, your brain changes. And what you would normally not eat suddenly seems perfectly fine to eat. And I've been the victim of that so many times, coming back from a bell at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, I'm eating ice cream. Why? Because I'm awake. That's why.
And folks, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen him eat ice cream. Most of the time he doesn't. He's like that little mouse in your house that just comes out when he sees the food and he just like looks around real quick. No one's there. Okay, yeah, let me get that. Then you wake up the next morning and there's no food left. And you're like, there was a whole pie out.
Right.
Where did it go?
Right. I can't say I've ever eaten a whole pie while everybody's in the rack, but yeah, definitely. You hit the nail right on the head. It's just the change in your perspective is so weird when you're coming back from a bell at 2 in the morning. And now I kind of, because of that, it's helped me figure out what other people are going through. Like, so when I talk to people about, personal training and I talk about their nutrition, it's like, okay, I get it. I understand what happens to me in the firehouse. So this person's, so I'll say to them, well, what's going on in your life right now? Well, I got 2 jobs and my one kid is this and my one kid's doing that. And grandma's, living with us now. It's like, okay.
Yeah, life.
Yeah, these things are definitely being stressors. And because of that, you're probably turning to the bad food to de-stress. That's exactly what I do. When I'm stressed out, I go for the food. I don't really drink. I don't smoke or anything. I can only work out so much. So what am I going to do? I'm going to eat half a jar of almond butter. That's what I'm going to do.
And these people will probably also go for comfort foods.
Yes.
So when you're sick, when you're feeling down, like you go for what mom or dad cooked you when you were a kid.
Right.
And typically mom and dad didn't really cook you the healthiest thing.
Right. They cooked you something that you would eat.
Like, hey, here's chicken fingers.
Right.
And you're like, sweet. Are they shaped like dinosaurs? Because that's even better.
Yeah. That's exactly what my daughter has at home.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not chicken fingers. They're dinosaur chickens or whatever. But it's comfort food.
I'm sorry to, tell excuse me to your daughter.
Yeah. You got to get it right.
Get the lingo down.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's it. Understanding what the psychology behind nutrition. But this also extends to your fitness. Does waking up early in the morning to go mountain biking feel like an awesome joy to you? Well, that's a great psychology. But there's people that they struggle with that. Like, I would never wake up that early to go bike riding. Maybe that's not their cup of tea. Maybe they should be doing something else. But the whole idea, though, is that there is a psychology behind everything. What is it that's holding you back from getting into the weight room or going for that jog? This is the stuff that I want to talk about on this podcast and, see what we could do to help people. And, I'll tell you another thing, too. Here's a little disclaimer, because there's a million podcasts out there, and there's really super intelligent people, doctors that are fitness persons
way smarter than us.
Yeah.
I tell you.
So what I'm talking about, or any guest that we're talking about, well, I'm hoping a guest is going to be bringing in way more advanced knowledge than what that's the whole point. Like I want to learn too. That's why I'm doing this. I want to connect with people. This is a great way to connect with people, because we're not on cell phones. We're actually talking. And, one day it would be nice to have a doctor or something. But even like you yourself, Greg, you got a plethora of knowledge. You've been around. You've done things. What can I learn from you? What's the exchange here that is going to take place, and then it's available to an audience?
Of course.
We don't know what's going to happen as this conversation goes, right? It's not really mapped out.
No.
So, I mean, actually, again, another disclaimer, we pretty much went off script right off the bat, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I did fire off a little bit of a script for you, like, well, we're just going to stick to these things, and it kind of just like totally just went on its own, which is what a great conversation should do.
Yeah, the train derailed, and we just went full into nutrition.
Right, and that's where we've been. But so that's a significant thing, though. That's a big part of the show. It's part of your self-improvement and your mindset patterns and everything anyway. So, but what else did I mention? I mentioned relationships, like relationships, we have good ones, we have bad ones. A lot of the times we sabotage relationships. There's all kinds of things going on. More psychology there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
More psychology. And I can't read enough books. Some of these books, there's no way I could get through them. So I'd like to figure this stuff out too, but ultimately, this podcast is a reboot from the Beachbox podcast, and it's going to get more into that, get away from more of like, let's just talk about the gym all the time, and let's talk about life, and you met our producer, Scott.
I did, yes.
Tonight, and Scott came along over the summertime, and he discussed with me about this podcast, and he thought it was a great idea to reboot, call it Build, Burn, Become. And what's so great is, like I just said, we have full production team now. I am no longer having to worry about all the technical stuff.
And you should have seen it, folks. I mean,
yeah.
Let's all be grateful that that Fred does not have to worry about the technical things here.
Yeah, right. I mean,
someone's covering that now.
Yeah, I was definitely struggling with this little thing here on the table. And you know what? I figured it out. Well, you figured it out. We all figured it out.
It's all right. We're here.
All I got to do is worry about the content now. So that's what's a great improvement here. We're going to be streaming live pretty soon, which is crazy. For me, it is.
We're in it, man.
Yeah.
You're in it.
One of the reasons, like I said, I want to do a podcast is to make connections with people, but it's also a challenge to myself. And I want that documented right here and right now. If I could help people in any way, just take this as one particular, worthy note, that it's a challenge for me to sit here and talk on a microphone knowing that, like at some point or other, people are going to be listening, watching, and judging. What's the judgment? Like, oh, he says too much, or he does this too much, or whatever. Those are all things that are going through my mind, but I got to plow ahead.
Of course.
Right? And this is like a metaphor. So the show itself is like a live testament to hopefully a transformative process, if you will. And, we did the 10 episodes. They were great, but they just didn't have the right feel. They were videoed, but at the same time, we were paying attention too much to the cameras. And because of that, I felt like there was a distraction from...
This feels way more natural. I feel like I'm speaking to you. I'm not worried about these cameras.
Right.
And I feel like I'm in a studio right
That's
now.
it. Right.
Everything from the audio to the lights,
right,
blasting on my face, to the cameras.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm on, Good Morning America or something.
Right.
I'm about to give the news.
Yeah. And worst case scenario or best case scenario, one of these days, if you do enough of these podcasts with the lights on you, one day you will be hopefully in front of a camera somewhere, and you'll come off smooth as silk, and you'll owe it to just Build, Burn, Become.
And hopefully I'll become a weatherman, because that's the best job ever.
Yeah.
You know, you can be wrong all the time.
And you still got a job.
Point at a screen, you get paid a ton of money, and that's what I'll become.
Right.
An in-shape weatherman.
Yeah, they're making tons of cash, right?
Yeah, what happened to Al Roker, though? I mean, the man's huge. Like, and he's a weatherman.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, right.
You should become a fit weatherman.
Well, he lost weight, though. That was a while ago.
Oh, yeah, maybe he did. Maybe
yeah, no,
right.
he's been thin for like 20 years now.
Well, I don't know what the heck I'm talking. Now I'm getting off topic.
You're stuck. You're stuck in the past. Yeah, but so summer break is over, and we got basically we have Beachbox Studios now. All right, it's Beachbox Gym, which, as I said earlier, we started. I came along in February. I met the owner, operator, founder, Wayne Strobel. We hooked up. I partnered in with him, and then it was like, well, what can we do with a podcast? So we created Beachbox Studios, and anybody could come here and do a podcast. So we're going to have information for that. That's like, if you want to come back and do your own podcast, you could come back. Anybody can. We're gonna put the information up. It's gonna be a great way for people to voice, get their voice out. And basically, since we have this whole enhanced program with the lights and the technology, we could even bring this out on the road. We could go to other places and do a podcast. So we're thinking about setting up shop down the beach by Asbury Park or whatever. And, just doing outdoor live things. We'll see as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't your typical iMac and the stereotypical little iMac, your video and your speaker on your computer. I mean, this is a setup, but it very much, I could see this being really mobile.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that
cool.
much stuff after a while. And then once I think we get all used to it and everything, it's the first episode, so we had some technical glitches, but nothing major. As long as this thing is recording, we're good to go.
And that's blinking, by the way, right? You're good?
Yeah, mine's blinking, but yours isn't. So, but your green thing is moving, so we're plowing right ahead. But so the show, that's Build, Burn, Become in a nutshell. What else can I really say about it? But as far as me, why, I explained a little bit why I wanted to do this, but I'm so into the lifestyle now. I have 27 years in the fitness industry, and basically, I would say for 30 years, I have this guiding principle or whatever. You learn stuff from your parents, whatever. So, but my guiding principle is ever since I was young, I can always remember every day I had this itchy feeling, this fire under my ass. And it was I need to always progress.
Of course, if you're not progressing where you're going.
Yeah, but it's you're so young, you don't know how to do it. There's that lack of wisdom, So as I get older, I'm starting to figure this shit out. And then, younger people sometimes ask me for advice and stuff, which is a sign that, you're getting old.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, when people, when I was young, I always went to older people. On anything, I would say, well, they would know better than this guy. This guy's my age. He doesn't know. So I'd go ask them, and then they would set me straight. So over the years, that's all played back as I've gotten older. So, the wanting to progress, not waste time, always hustling, not waste a moment, dream big, execute, and try to reach my highest potential. I think that's a universal feeling for all of us.
Of course.
Some people are at different stages, right? So they might not feel like they can reach a higher level, but they can,
There's the train.
There's the train.
We are close to Asbury Park.
Yeah, that's the Beachbox Express, I like to call it. I mean, it doesn't really stop here, but it stops not far.
No.
You could come from New York City, down on that train, get off, and be here for a workout.
Or your podcast.
Or a podcast, yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Our shameless plugs once again.
Yeah,
sorry.
right. Well, you gotta just make sure people are informed. That's all you're doing. So, what else can I say? Yeah. So to really give the last few notes of what it is that I'm all about and everything is, I mentioned to you before when we went hot with the mic was I used to smoke when I was a kid in high school, and I did it because it was a way to meet chicks, right? Stupid stuff. But I wish I never had smoked before, and so I did, whatever. But, I started off as a skinny kid, right? And when I was 19 years old, I hurt my back lifting something. I had sciatic injury. It was the summertime, and I was all messed up. And I went to a chiropractor for 2 weeks. And this guy was like, he was like kind of like a 30, he was like 30 years old. He was muscular kind of dude, worked out. And he tuned me all up. I said, I don't have to come back anymore. He said, I don't think so. And he goes, let me ask you something, though. And I said, what? And he goes, what the fuck are you doing with yourself? I swear to God. And I was like, what? And he goes, you're underweight. You stink like cigarettes. You hurt your back. You're 19 years old. What, you were lifting like a 50-pound marble table? I'm like, yeah. I mean, he was slapping me around.
Wow.
Slapping me around. I needed to hear it, though. He set me straight. I said, well, what should I do? And he goes, well, stop smoking, go join a gym, and start eating a lot of sandwiches. I said, well, what gym? And he goes, there's one on Route 22 in Springfield called Jack LaLanne, which became Bally's, and I don't know what they are now. They might still be Bally's. But that's where I started. That's how I started. And that back injury at 19 years old was devastating. But it went away quick. But I know older people, they have back injuries and stuff, and it's just it's horrible, you know? So, and that it's weird, like certain things happen to you. That has always been, like, whenever I pick up a pencil, a piece of paper, or anything, I'm always like, proper form, to this day.
Lift up the legs, please.
Yeah, but keep the back straight and bend at the knees. That's always in my mindset. And, but when I exercise, I'm like, yeah, I'm protecting my injury,
Wow.
My herniated disc. That's what it was.
So this chiropractor Buddha came to you and really set you straight when you were 19 years old.
Oh yeah, it was like a big brother, giving me a hard crack and setting me straight.
If only he could see you now, he'd say.
I can't even remember the guy's name.
Well, that's wow.
I know. I was actually thinking of going to Springfield Township and looking up in the records because his practice isn't there anymore. But looking up and see if I could find his name. I think it was Anthony something. And then see if I could just track him down, shoot him, maybe find him on Facebook and just shoot him.
Oh, that'd be great.
He's got to remember,
of course.
Right? He would remember me,
yeah,
I would
why
think.
Not?
Yeah. I mean,
You reeked like cigarettes. You probably had to wash the whole place down after you left.
Right. It was, I mean, he really, he's like, you stink like cigarette. He had this scowl on his face, like I was bringing like burning ashes in on me. It was just, his attitude was just so sharp, and I was just like, wow. I mean, it set me straight. It was what I needed to hear, and you know what? I took it right. It bothered me, but it was like, instead of getting insulted, I was like, you know what? He's fucking right.
But that's sort of what you want to do here too. That guy's advice basically changed your whole life, and you took heed and you listened to what he was saying. And if one person will listen to this podcast and understand what you're trying to say and change their lives around, then, mission complete.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's it. Right. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point you brought up. Thank you for bringing it up because I almost forgot this. The other detail, why I want to start a podcast, because, sometimes people are like, you? What? Why do you think? Well, first of all, I think I could do anything. All right, I'm not being arrogant. I'm just trying to say, I think I might be able to do just about anything. All right, I'm not going to send a spaceship around the moon. I'm not that smart, but I could do some stuff if I apply myself. And there was a individual who was trying to give me advice one time, and they said the same thing to me 100 times, and it never sunk in. And then one day, I put on a podcast, and it was Jocko Willink. He's a Navy SEAL, a real intense dude. He's pretty much like the first, outside of Joe Rogan, and one of the first podcasts I ever came across. But he said the same thing that this other guy was saying to me.
Okay.
And he just had like a different way of saying it and a different attitude. But he was like this Navy SEAL guy, and I kind of relate to a person like that.
Did he just scream it in your face because he's a Navy SEAL?
He was just talking to the other guy like how we are right now. But what he said was almost the same exact thing. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, right. That's what so-and-so was telling me this whole time. Duh. But I related to him. And it's not the other guy's fault. It's just who you relate to. You know, like there's people that love Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're probably not those people.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried. It's cool. I get it. I see I just don't relate. But millions relate to him. I mean, he's, you know.
He's world renowned.
Yeah.
I mean, you say Tony Robbins is a household name.
Right. But I just don't get the connection, and that's a normal thing. You know, like it's just like how you could be friends with one person and you can't be friends with another person. Like you just don't connect. It's nothing really major. It's just there's a chemistry thing. So I realized that, like, oh, okay, so basically I could get up on a microphone, a podcast. I could talk about all these things that this show is going to be about, and yeah, maybe like 100 people will be like, this guy just is irritating, his voice sucks, and you know he's horrible, and click, done. And then maybe 10 people will be like, I connect with him.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's the whole goal.
And the best thing is the guests are going to rotate. So I mean,
Right.
if you absolutely hate me, don't worry, don't tune out.
Yeah.
Because I'll be gone
Yeah.
the next episode.
Right.
Or who knows? Maybe I'll be back.
Well, actually, I'd love to have you come back really as a true guest. Like, you're just here like to chill out. I know you're not really prepared with like questions or anything like that, but I'd love to have you come back in another episode because I know you got some stuff going on the side outside of the fire department, and I want to talk to you about your fitness and your interest in fitness, and you have a charity thing that you're involved in. I want to talk about that. What's the name of the charity?
So I do a lot of volunteer work with Best Day Foundation.
Right. Okay.
So
Best Day Foundation, and they're out of where?
Well, they were based out of California, but they have chapters all over the United States.
All right.
So
All right.
specifically, I'm based out of the one in New Jersey here, and we run a bunch of events all up and down the coast, basically helping special needs kids have the best beach day possible.
All right, that's awesome.
Which is awesome because we're in Beach Box and we're talking about beach days.
Yeah,
So
well, we're literally like 6 blocks away from the beach, and you were just surfing before.
I was just surfing before.
Yeah, and another friend of ours was out there surfing too. So yeah, this is a great location for it. And yeah, I want to have you come back and talk to you about that and all those other things.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I mean, basically, that's what this show is. That's what it's about in a nutshell. I think we don't need to say anything else about it. I'm just looking at my notes here. Basically, I think we're good. We're good. We're gonna wrap up this first episode and just be like, whew, we got through it.
It's
because
done.
It's done.
And I hope you guys come back. I mean, we want some people to come back and listen.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we're going to be more interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Like I said, I won't be here.
Well, you might be here. Well, I hope you're going to come back for an interview.
All right. Maybe I'll come back for an interview or two.
All right.
But come back and listen to Fred.
Yeah. Yeah. Come back, talk, chill, have fun. So that's it. That's that we're going to wrap up this episode. BuildBurnBecome. You could Instagram is at BuildBurnBecome, and we're also on Facebook. You can start there and check it out. And we will be coming back at you with another episode next week and every week thereafter. So, yeah,
putting in the work, man.
I think that's a little pressure, but hell with it. What's the worst thing that can happen? We'll have to skip a week every now and then. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. And tune in again. We're going to have Greg back, and he's got some interesting stuff to talk about. So thanks, and take care.
And thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you were here.
Become a better you.